The Power of Introverts. The Power of Introverts in a World That Can Stop Talking in 2012, a nonfiction book by American writer and lecturer Susan Cain entitled Quiet, The Power of Introverts in a World That Can Stop Talking was published. Kane argues that modern Western culture undervalues and misunderstands the traits and abilities of introverted people, leading to a massive waste of talent, energy, and happiness. The author narrates the history of how Western culture shifted from a personality culture to a personality culture in which extroverted idealism dominates, and introversion is seen as inferior or even a disease. Drawing on scientific definitions of introversion and extroversion as preferences for different levels of motivation, Quiet demonstrates the advantages and disadvantages of each temperament, emphasizing the myth of the extroverted ideal that prevailed in the West since the beginning of the 20th century. Kane asserts that temperament is a key component of human identity and cites research in biology, psychology, neuroscience, and evolution to prove that introversion is common and normal, nothing that many of humanity's most creative individuals and outstanding leaders have been introverts. Kane urges change in the workplace, schools, and parenting, advising introverts to work in a culture dominated by extroverts, and advice on communication, work, and relationships between people of different temperaments. Overview. Kane graduated from Princeton University and Harvard Law School and became a lawyer and negotiation consultant. It is said that her interest in writing on the subject of introversion stemmed from her difficulties with public speaking, which made Harvard Law School a trial and likened her time as a Wall Street lawyer to time spent in a foreign country. Kane left her career in corporate law and consulting for a quieter life writing at home with her family. Kane's book was published after 7 years in the making on January 24, 2012, and when asked what inspired her to write it, she replied that she likened introverts today to women at the dawn of the movement feminism, second-class citizens with vast amounts of untapped talent. She said our institutions are designed for extroverts, which makes many introverts think something is wrong with them and that they should try to come out as extroverts. She points out that this prejudice against introverts leads to a massive waste of talent, energy, and happiness, saying it is the next great diversity issue of our time. Content and concepts. Kane argues that modern Western culture misunderstands the abilities and traits of introverts by employing academic research, supplemented with anecdotes, to describe how American culture got to this point. The extrovert ideal. Kane argues that Western culture, and in particular American, is dominated by what she calls a branching idealism, which describes the ubiquitous belief that the ideal self is social, regenerative, and comfortable in the spotlight. Western societies, based on the Greco-Roman proverb that praises rhetoric, prefer masculinity to actions rather than words, and view introversion as a disappointment or pathological condition. On the other hand, we will find that the traditional Asian culture that preceded the American is more inclined to value the value of reservation and caution. Historical roots. Kane traces the historical roots of fragmented idealism to the emergence of industrial America in the late 19th century, before which a culture of personality dominated, after which a perfect storm of big business, urbanization, and mass immigration transformed America into what historian Warren Sussman has called a culture of personality, in which perception prevails. The truth, Josiah Bielski of the Globe and Mail described this shift as being in line with the rise of the salesman and the transition from morality to magnetism that Kane says has forever changed who we are and who we admire, who we act in job interviews and what we look for in employee, how we court mates and raise our children. Disadvantages of extroverted idealism. Generally, Kane states that we cannot be in a group of people without an instinctive reflection of one another, and groups follow the most charismatic person, although there is no correlation between being a good speaker and having great ideas. Not only the groupthink approaches favor dominant extroverts, Kane says, but reliance on brainstorming is wrong. arguing that serious original thought and the experience it generates are often individual ideas. Kane reviews psychological research showing that when people, not just introverts, oppose group consensus, the brain fires up signaling fear of rejection and thus inhibiting potentially valuable individual contributions to the group. Kane cites research indicating that people are more creative when they enjoy privacy and freedom from interruption, the implication being that first, teamwork can stifle creativity. As a concrete example of the dangers of groupthink, Kane mentions juries, which the desire for social choosing can sometimes lead to the obstruction of justice. She suggests that the often pervasive mood of management in the investment and banking industries involving dopamine-related reward moods may have contributed to the 2008 banking crisis.